it's great. Now to the roundtable. On my right, but always the political left, Ogie Overman, the great broadcaster and journalist, and socially distanced behind us, two great guys. David Daggett, of course, we held over from an earlier segment where he talked about keeping kids safe and when they're driving, and the SafeSober.com campaign, and Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. Guys, Republican state lawmakers have introduced a bill that would enforce tougher discipline on students. They now want long-term suspensions, not just short-term suspensions, not just a slap on the wrist. They want long-term suspensions given to kids who use inappropriate language, violate dress code, and engage in minor physical altercations. Guys, you okay with the harsher punishment? Ogie.
No, not for dress code violations and language. Are you kidding me? Yeah, if you're starting fights or dealing dope or something, of course, but not for that. Come on.
David Daggett.
Yeah, I don't think the legislature should be micromanaging discipline in our schools. I think we need to give our educators authority and responsibility and let them handle those issues.
Mr. Granberry.
There are enough kids who are having problems in school without them legislating issues like that. There are a lot of kids who aren't as fortunate as they are, and they should be looking at how they can help these kids graduate instead of looking at ways to keep them out of school.
Maybe some of the lawmakers don't remember what it was like to be a kid, or maybe they weren't kids, I don't know. Maybe they are now. Meanwhile, some state lawmakers want to crack down on protesters who riot by increasing prison time when death or destruction results from the riot. Now, here's the thing. Opponents like the ACLU says that peaceful protesters could get caught up in a riot where somebody gets hurt or there's destruction of property, and the ACLU and others are afraid that innocent folks will go to prison. Is this just a way, is this law just going to discourage all types of protests, or are you okay with more prison time for rioters? Ogie.
Another bad Republican idea, Jim. It's just a way to suppress dissent. It's just, how do you separate? It's so easy to get caught up in it. When somebody's throwing rocks and busts a window, how can you identify who that person is?
David.
Well, I think we have criminal laws on the books, and criminal laws ought to be enforced if there's criminal activity. Protests, I was in some in college. We were trying to make a point, get that point across. However, if somebody broke a law in doing so, let's identify them and use existing laws. We don't need anything special for it.
Yeah, I protested in front of Daggett Shuler's offices one day. Keith, what do you think?
I think number one, protest is a democratic right, and we can't stop people from protest. If someone breaks the law, then identify that individual, like David said. But they are trying to defeat democracy by identifying riots and squashing these like Black Lives Matters and stuff like that, and it's wrong.
All right, 20 states are now considering bills that would make police officers' disciplinary records open to the public completely. Would you like to see these records open to the public in all 50 states, Ogie?
Yeah, I have no problem with that at all. That's reasonable.
David?
Yeah, I do. I think that they're like personnel records in my office, in your business, anybody else's business, that certain levels need to be protected in your personnel files. Now, are there situations and occurrences that should be made public? Absolutely. But just making the whole personnel file public, I do not think is a good idea.
Keith?
I think that they should not allow people who have bad records to be policemen. I think that you're going to have to make something public, because if they continue, they can move from place to place.
Which they're doing.
And that's a problem. That's a huge problem.
All right, Wake Forest University just renamed Wingate Hall because former President Wingate owned and sold slaves. But the university is not changing the name of Waite Chapel, even though founder Samuel Waite also owned and sold slaves. Now, we all love Wake Forest University. Great people over there, great folks. But just basically, guys, you okay with renaming one building and not renaming both? Ogie?
Basically, I'm not really. I mean, it's almost to the point of I said it the other week, getting too woke. It's almost playing into the Trumpletites' hands.
Would you leave Wingate the way it was?
I don't know the detail, but it does depend. Like Aycock was just a bad all-around guy.
Yeah, so
some of these guys that owned slaves, heck, most people who had any money during that owned slaves. My ancestors probably owned
Washington
slaves.
And all that.
Yeah.
All right, David, what do you think?
Yeah, I think these are difficult struggles and difficult issues that we're dealing with. Certainly there were past atrocities. I think it's good that we're having this struggle, and the thing I hope deep down in my heart is that future generations don't have to deal with the same struggles of what we're doing today. We can correct what we're doing today. I think the struggles are good. I think they help shape and form society.
Mr. Granberry.
I think number one, anybody who owns slaves, I have a problem with. I mean, you owning another individual, it was wrong from the start. I don't care who you are. The second thing is that you're going to name, keep one name, but then you're going to not leave the name of a chapel where people can go and praise God, which is, I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. So I believe that if you're going to do one, you do both of them.
All right, in a recent national poll, which you've already heard of, this is about a week or so old, 70% of registered Republicans say they still doubt that Joe Biden is the real president. Very quickly, guys, does this surprise you, concern you, or both? Ogie, quickly.
It saddens me greatly, Jim. I'm starting to lose faith in humanity.
David.
Both. Evidence has been put toward Republican-appointed federal judges on all levels. They say there's no evidence.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense.
Keith, surprise you?
No, it doesn't surprise me, but I mean, that's the way it is. I don't even know what to say. It just doesn't make sense.
All right, finally, Disneyland's Snow White Village attraction is coming under fire from liberal activists who say that the prince, this is a real story, the prince has no right to kiss a sleeping princess without her consent. They want Disney to get rid of the kiss. Guys, is this a valid criticism or just political correctness gone wild? Ogie.
I heard Brian Williams say the other night that every time we come out with one of these ideas like that, another Republican candidate gets his wings.
David Daggett.
I think this one's gone a little bit awry. It's too far.
Keith.
So what was it again?
You can't kiss a princess if she's sleeping, which I know you've done.
I have not.
I've seen him.
My wife is a princess, and I've kissed her, and
I've kissed a couple frogs.
No, well,
That's
you were a frog.
That's worse.
Until you got.
Yeah, I was the frog. Yeah, excuse me. A couple princesses kissed me, and I was the frog.
are you boys, are you through? I should have never gotten to that question. All right, well, that's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. Kamala Harris has become the first vice president to ever be immortalized in wax by the famous Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. In a related story, 70% of Republicans who saw the wax figure think it's real. You have to stay up with what we're doing. All right, for all of us here, except for Keith, we're going to go visit a princess. I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.